Hello, Sentinels. It is episode 24, and it was JFK that said that physical fitness is one of the most important keys to a healthy body. And it is one of the most important things for a dynamic and creative intellectual activity. Now, that for me has a meaning. So in 2007, I was 42 years old, and my father and my grandfather both had diabetes type 2, and they died of it. Both of them under, not very good circumstances, and my father certainly not. He had a rather hard year, and as I'd like to put it in my head, he went out in pieces. And I'm not just talking about physical ones. And he passed away in June 2008. Now, as we all know, my mother always told me that diabetes didn't have to be my destiny, though I'm sure at that particular point in time she probably didn't know that. Now, with epigenetics, we now know that genes are also expressed, but at that particular point in time that wasn't too clear. Now, why am I telling you this, and what's that got to do with ADHD? Well, it's quite simple really. The one thing that probably saved my neck, two things actually. One was a person, the other thing was ADHD, because you have a tremendous amount of energy when you do have an ADHD. It's one of the big pluses that you do have, apart from the super focus on the one thing you actually love. Now, having a healthy body, that allows you to think clearly. And by the time I got to 2010, I weighed 239 pounds. That's, if you're English, it's over 16 and a half stone. And that's 106 kilos if you're in Europe. So at that particular point in time, I thought, okay, my dad got type 2 diabetes, and he died of it, and he didn't die pleasantly. He literally had a long, slow roll downhill. Now, that made an impression upon me that I didn't want to go the same way. And I decided to do something about it. And the main thing that I knew then about type 2 diabetes, aside from the fact you become insulin resistant and then you get type 2 diabetes, and at that particular point in time, they didn't know you could reverse it. But the only thing I did know is that a friend of mine had been in an accident, ended up in hospital, and then had ended up with type 2 diabetes because basically she couldn't exercise at all and became rather heavy. And heavy is an understatement, so it was weight. So I'd stacked up 106 kilograms, or 239 pounds if you're an American, and I thought, okay, this is it. This is the point where you start to go downhill, and you are going to hit rock bottom. You're going to get type 2 diabetes, and this is how you're going to go out. And both my father and my grandfather never got past 70. So if that's true, I'm now 53. At that particular point in time, I was 42. Or close to it. I decided to do something about it in 2010. And I met somebody, I was spinning, her name's Carol Bianco, and I was doing spinning to lose pounds. And I was doing what everybody does in a spinning class, is busting up. And basically, I asked her one time, what's the best way to lose fat? So she told me what a maximum heart rate, and how you should actually be running at about 60% of that if you want to burn calories. So me, looking like a complete idiot in a spinning class, was always running. I had a screen up in front of me, so I was tracking it all the time. I went to a class where you could actually see your own personal performance on a screen up in front of the class. So I was following that at 60% religiously, and I cut out sugar and alcohol and I went from 106 kilos down to 92 kilos, and in sort of the end of 2011, I ran the Berlin Marathon. Now, I have never gone up to that weight ever again. I've dropped down, and you drop down in plateaus when you are actually exercising. But it had another side effect. Aside from the fact the ADHD actually saved me, because I've got enough energy at my age, or at the particular age when a lot of people get told, well, it's just normal that you start to feel tired and don't want to do things and don't want to exercise, which is a lot of crap, by the way. I know of people there's a marathon runner in the UK who is 96 years old, so that is utter horseshit. I also met people in northern Mexico when I went through there. Their whole lives are running. That means they run something like anything up to 400-mile races, and I'd actually seen these people when I was in Mexico. And I knew that was bullshit. So the other side effect, the fact that I started running, I lost all the kilos. Carol, I would thank her very much. That's biancobodydesigner.com. If you actually want to learn something proper about exercise, you can go there and see that. She saved my life with that conversation. It was only about 3 or 4 minutes, but it actually saved my neck. And that one fact also had the side effect that with the exercise, it clears your mind and allows you to think more clearly. So if you have ADHD and you know what meltdowns are, and if you have ADHD, you do, then it's when you get older, that isn't the case. You don't melt down unless you're really under stress. But if you meditate and you exercise, you keep your brain clear. And that makes the difference for people with ADHD. And with that, that is my, today's episode done. I'd like to thank Julie, Tim, Avento for the likes. Thank you very much. And as always, this is sponsored by Leaderstribe.tv. And you can go and see the written forms of these and some of the science behind it. And believe me, I've spent the last 30 years now actually looking at the science of ADHD and how to improve myself because I have it. And it isn't just all the things that have been said about ADHD from a scientific perspective or from a mindset perspective and the brain. I've actually been working on for the last 20 or 30 years actually. So some of this is not just me trying it out and saying this is a good idea. It's also science and facts and the stuff that basically the scientists are actually saying about ADHD. So with that, thank you very much. As always, have a plan, be fun, foster wisdom wherever you see it, and may you have a good morning, a good evening, or a good afternoon, depending on where you are. Cheers, and thanks very much for watching.